Some of y'all are in your Cinderella season. Now, I got up this morning and God put it on my heart to put on the Cinderella movie. And most of y'all know how that movie goes. She goes to the ball, she has stepsisters, she has to deal with her stepmom because her mom died, and so forth and so forth. So while the movie is going on, God began to tell me some things, and I began to write it down. And it says, some of y'all are in y'all Cinderella season. When God tells you his promise or reveals it to you, that the promise that he has for you, have faith in what he said. So at this point, the mom dies and the father sits Cinderella down to tell her that, hey, I met somebody new. Would you mind if I become happy again? And of course, she's excited. She says, okay, come on. And, the stepmom and the sisters meet Cinderella, and they're kind of like picking at her, like they're kind of talking about her. And during that part of the movie, God began to speak to me and say, sometimes people may come into your life trying to discourage you. And best believe the devil is coming, especially when you have God's favor over your life, to try to tear you down and distract you from it all. Because he knows the promise that God has for you. That promise that he revealed to you, or whatever he promised you earlier, the devil knows that it's coming around the corner. So fast forward, the dad has to go off somewhere for a few months and has to leave Cinderella with the stepmom and sisters. So sometimes God has to isolate you from everyone in order to develop you and build you into what he needs you to be. That could be working out or healing that childhood trauma, or just getting your house in order or getting your body right. Whatever he told you to do, to work on, do it. And it may be hard and trying at times while you're in this isolation season, but you have to remember that God never left your side. His promise for you is still coming. So after the father left and Cinderella is here with the stepmom and stepsisters, what you notice is God began to really point out in the movie that when the father left, Cinderella just didn't sit around just sitting there crying. No, she began to work in the field. She began to clean up and just continue working on herself and everything else around you. So like I said earlier, whatever God has told you to work on while you're waiting for that door to open, continue to work on it, continue to develop and do whatever you need to do that God told you to do. So fast forward a little bit later, Cinderella is being told that her father has passed away. And, sometimes we got to die to our flesh to become something new. How many of you know that? We have to die to our flesh daily so he can be able to reveal our next step. So at this point, she's sad, she's crying, she's like, oh my God, I already lost my mother, I lost my father too. But the one thing that I noticed is that she kept her kind heart. She didn't grow weary, she didn't, become hardened. She didn't do any of those things. So when we have to die to our flesh and when we're waiting on God to bring that promise to us, we cannot let our heart become hardened. We can't get angry at God because he's not coming on our timing. We have to learn to be able to trust that God has our back and that he's working on the other side of that promise, whether that be a job, whether that be a husband, kids, career, whatever that you're praying for. We have to be able to trust that God has our back. So she takes off into the forest, because she's sad. She doesn't know what to do. It's just too much going on. And that is when she met the prince in the forest. And, at that point, God began to speak to me and say, that you will meet your prince at the right time and place. And you have to be able to trust that. When it seems like nothing is moving in your life, when it seems like you're at a standstill, and you may be even saying, oh, well, God, are you hearing me? Your prince is going to come at the right time. Trust it. But while you're waiting, you got to keep allowing God to prepare you until he brings your spouse or that job or whatever together in unity in the physical realm. Because when you pray, it's already done in the spiritual. It just has to catch up to the physical. So I hope that blessed you, and I hope you had a good day. Bye.